Okay, good morning student. Today we will discuss about bioequivalency studies. The bioequivalency in short it called as BE. So first we'll see how bioequivalency is defined or what is bioequivalency. So the bioequivalency means to compare two or more identical product to the systemic circulation in same extent or same relative concentration. In short, the same drug, same dose and same dosage form of different formulations are checked in the systemic circulation for the availability. That means bioavailability is checked for different formulations having same dose, dosage form and same drug. So why this bioequivalency is needed, or for what the bioequivalency study is done? So generally there are new products are launching, so that will go for clinical trials. So after the clinical trials it passed, the drug is launched to the market. So in the same formulation, any modification is made in terms of excipient is changed or any method is changed or any manufacturing process is changed by keeping the dosage form, drug. So the new formulation is arrived, so that will not go to the clinical trials. Instead, that will go for the bioequivalency studies because all the main parameters are same. So now these bioequivalency studies are important to launch new product which is already available in the market with slight differentiation in the formulation. Second, the bioequivalency study is to compare the product available in the market with the reference. For example, now the formulation is procured or exported from another countries or another areas. That product, before leaving to the market, the bioequivalency is checked whether it is same like that of already available in the marketed product. So for this purpose, the bioequivalency study is very much useful to avoid most of the clinical trials or to make the equivalency to the reference product. So what can be checked? Bioequivalency, how it is performed or what are all the parameters are checked means same like what we discussed in the last class. All the pharmacokinetic parameters are mainly checked. So those studies are called as in vivo studies. So only in vivo studies are checked? No. So most of the cases will check the in vivo studies. If not needed to go for in vivo, or if all the parameters are more or less same, or if it is pharmacokinetic is linear, instead of doing in vivo, there is another alternate, it is called as in vitro studies. So when the in vitro studies are preferred or when the in vivo studies are preferred for bioequivalencies are given here. So I said there are two types of comparison is done. One is by in vivo method, another one is by in vitro method. So you know the differentiation between the in vivo and in vitro. The in vitro is an alternate method for in vivo. When compared to in vitro is very simple and easy technique to do it. Because the in vitro is nothing but the experiment or research doing outside the body by mimicking the in vivo setup. So the in vivo means doing the experiment or research inside the body with the animals or human volunteers. So mainly the bioequivalency study is done in the human volunteers. When the in vivo is preferred means when the formulation what we are selected to go for bioequivalency, if that have poor permeability, will go in vivo bioequivalency study, or if the formulation is oral immediate release dosage form which is having narrow therapeutic window, or the same oral immediate release dosage form have steep dose response curve, or the same oral immediate release drug have non-linear pharmacokinetic. That means the AUC or Cmax, Tmax will be zigzag. It will be non-linear. And second, if it is having pre-systemic elimination, that means the elimination is very fast. And if the product is having unfavorable biophysiochemical properties like insolubility or instability, we prefer in vivo studies. Or if the drug and the excipient used in the formulation ratio is high. For example, the drug quantity is very minimum, very 10 mg, 20 mg. If the excipients are more, 100 gram, 150 gram, 130 gram, so this ratio will be very huge. In such case, we should go for in vivo studies. And last, if the drug is administered other than oral route, we must do in vivo study only. So, in these conditions, we will do in vivo studies to check the bioequivalency. The second is in vitro studies. So, when we will do in vitro studies? Okay. So, now, where are the conditions the in vitro studies are done? See, most of the cases will do bioequivalency studies by in vivo techniques only. In very minimum cases, in vitro study is performed. So I'm saying that again, the in vitro is the simplest form and easiest form and preferred one, but in vivo is difficult because it is done in the human volunteers or be using the animals. It is difficult process, but few cases the technique called in vivo in vitro correlation, that is known as IV-IVC correlation. In few drugs or most of the dosage forms, the in vivo in vitro correlation is established. That means that is quantified amount of drug absorbed and amount of drug in the systemic circulation is compared with the dissolution parameter, that is the physiochemical parameters, and absorption concentration, plasma concentration is compared. That two correlation is established. If that IV-IVC, in vivo in vitro correlation is established very well for the particular formulation, we can go for in vitro studies. Or if the drug pharmacokinetic parameters are linear, we will do in vitro studies. Or if the quality of the product which compared are more or less same, or if the quality is same, then we can directly go for in vitro, no need of doing in vivo studies. If the drug and excipient ratio is same, then we can go for in vitro studies. If the product is from same manufacturer at same site, so those formulations are compared with in vitro parameters. Or if the drug is slightly reformulated, the formula everything is same, with small slight reformulation is done, for those studies or those formulation we can do in vitro studies. Or if the drug manufacturing method is slightly changed, rest everything is same, only small changes is made between formulation A and formulation B, in such case we can go for in vitro studies. So these are the setup. So where we wanted to do in vivo studies and what are the cases we wanted to do in vitro studies are classified now. Most of the cases will do in vivo correlation effectively to check the bioequivalency of identical products A, B, C, whatever. See, this is not only compared to product, we can compare any number of product, but minimum 2 formulations are checked. More than 2, however we can check the in vivo studies. So what are the parameters are checked in vivo study for bioequivalency? So generally the pharmacokinetic parameter like Tmax, Cmax, T lag, that means bioavailability lag time or absorption lag time. Then AUC from 0 to T is checked. Then AUC T to infinity time is checked. So these are all the main parameters are checked for in vivo studies. So we will compare mainly the AUC, same like the relative bioavailability, the bioequivalency is checked by using AUC. So you know that AUC can be checked by different methods, planimeter or cut and weight method or trapezoidal method or interrogation. Any method we can check the AUC and these two AUC or three, whatever formulation is checked, that are all compared. So this is by in vivo techniques, and in vitro the dissolution parameters are checked. So the percentage release of drug or percentage cumulative release of drug is checked between formulation A, B, C, D, whatever is taken. So now, what are the methods are generally bioequivalency is studied? So these are all mainly we are talking about in vivo bioequivalency studies. So generally there are three methods available to check the bioequivalency. So these methods are recommended by WHO and US FDA. Okay. So what are all the three methods? The one is parallel design, second is crossover design, and third one is Latin square design. So these three methods are basically same. Everything, the drug is administered to the volunteers or animals. In that drug, amount of the drug present in the blood in terms of plasma concentration is determined. So this setup is same, but only the study design will change slightly to each other. Each and every design have its own advantages and disadvantages. Let us see individually about the design and how it is performed. So there are three methods I said to check the bioequivalency by in vivo method. There are parallel design, crossover design, and Latin square design. Before starting these methods, so the general protocol is formed. So what is general protocol means? See, generally the in vivo study is done with healthy human volunteers. So when selecting the human volunteers, we must use as minimum as possible human volunteers for the study. Second, the age group, from 18 year to 50 or 55 year age people are selected as a human volunteers. Then their age, sex, body weight to be same as much as possible. Then their food habit and physical activities are checked. Then these group people explained about the time of administration and time of sampling. That means, so when it is administered and what interval the blood is collected and what ml is collected to be explained to them. Then all the volunteers are asked to be for a overnight fasting or 10-hour fasting before starting the experiment. So once after administering the drug, after 10-hour fasting, there are 4-hour fasting is recommended. That means if morning 8 o'clock drug is administered after 10-hour fasting, then the next food they are supposed to take at 12 o'clock. So the timing interval, whether it may be 10-hour study or 12-hour study, are explained to the volunteers clearly. And we must educate and explain the risk and benefits of the study to the volunteers, and what classification of the drug is administered to the volunteer for the study should be explained, and the official and legal protocols are followed as per the guidelines given. Then the exact analytical method to be ready, whether after collecting the blood, after centrifugation, how the drug is determined, maybe by UV or IR, HPLC, HPTH, what method, what technique, that technique should be ready to estimate the amount of drug present. So now this is the major protocol is framed. So now we will imagine we are selecting 12 healthy human volunteers. So if 12 volunteers are selected, so in individual design, how that is varies, we will check now. So the first one is parallel design study. So the parallel design study means, I told there are 12 healthy human volunteers are selected. These 12 volunteers are divided into two groups. Group 1 having 6 volunteers, group 2 is 6 volunteers. See, this group 1 and group 2 is selected randomly. Among 12, anyone can be in a group 1 and anyone can be in a group 2. So what is parallel method means? So now there are 6 volunteers in group 1. So now we have two products to be checked, formulation A and formulation B. So randomly selected group 1, the reference formulation A is given. The marketed product or the standard product is given to group 1, and which to be checked, that we will consider as formulation B or reference. So that is given to another group. So 2 formulations are given to 2 groups. So one group will receive reference and another group receive test, or one group will receive formulation A and another group will receive formulation B. So after giving to those groups, so the 6 people blood sample is collected, and that blood sample plasma concentration is checked, and AUC, Tmax, Cmax and whatever parameters we wanted to check, that is checked. So now this is called as parallel because 6 people are given one formulation and another 6 people is given another formulation. So parallelly this study is done. So what advantage of parallel design method is, the long half-life drugs are studied by parallel design. The main disadvantage of parallel design is there is a huge chances of inter-subject variability. That means the volunteer 1 will give some sort of plasma concentration, and volunteer 2, 3, like among the group, the inter-subject variability occurs. So sometimes this inter-subject variability is very huge. It dominates the formulation variability. So this is one of the main disadvantage in parallel design. However, the long T of drugs are done by parallel design because the study protocol, if the formulation is 2 or 3 formulation is there, if we do in another technique by crossover Latin square design, this consumes more time to complete the process. We'll see how that is. So this is first method, parallel design. One group receive formulation A, another group receive formulation B. Study is completed, plasma drug is collected and checked, that is evaluated. In crossover study, there are 2 period, 2 treatment is done with washout period. Okay, so that is very simple. See, there are group 1, 6 volunteers, group 2 is 6 volunteers. So same like parallel design, group 1 receive test or formulation A, group 2 receive reference, that is formulation B. Okay, so now one work is over. So the time of sampling is done and the blood is collected, plasma concentration is checked, the data are ready. Now we should make the volunteers washout period, generally 1 week. I'll explain the washout period is what. The washout period is nothing but the time given for the first treatment and to the second treatment. The time between the first and second treatment is known as washout period. Why this washout period is given? To eliminate the complete elimination of the first treatment drug in the blood to go off from the body. So now group 1 receive test, group 2 receive reference. So after 1 week washout period, it is reversed, vice versa. Group 1 receive reference and group 2 receive test. So what is the advantage of this method is the inter-subject variability is minimized when compared to parallel design. So what is the disadvantage of this crossover study means it consumes more time. So one set of study is done, then washout period is given and we have to do second study. So however, whenever we are studying with more, the more human volunteers are used, or the same human volunteers are repeatedly treated unnecessarily with the drug and their blood is collected for estimation. This is one of the major disadvantage in all the human volunteer studies. And the third method is called as Latin square technique. This is widely used method and this is advantageous method because this is having very minimal individual subject variability. But one main drawback here is it consumes very long period of study. So what is the Latin square technique explain means each subject receive each formulation study. Okay. So what is the Latin square technique explain means each subject receive each formulation. Okay, this, for example, there are 3 formulations are there. So we are selecting only 3 volunteers. So here the number of volunteers are less. That is one of the main advantage. So the inter-subject variability is less. But the main disadvantage is it is lengthy. I will explain how. See now, this is volunteer 1, volunteer 2 and volunteer 3. So the first set of study, volunteer 1 will receive formulation A, formulation B will be volunteer 2 is received, and the volunteer 3 will receive formulation C. So this volunteer 1, 2, 3 may be one person or 2 or 3. Based on the accuracy, we can increase the volunteers. So now I am explaining with each volunteer. 1, 2, 3 receive. First set A, B, C. Okay. Now there is a washout period. After the washout period, the volunteer 1 will receive formulation B. Then formulation C is received by volunteer 2 and the volunteer 3 will receive formulation A. Then leave for washout period. After the washout period, volunteer 1 will receive A, B, C, A and B for volunteer 2 and 3 respectively. So now what happened? So the volunteer 1 received all the formulations A, B, C. Volunteer 2 also received, 3 also received all the formulations A, B, C. But when compared to these formulations, the individual subject receiving the same formulation is less. So this is one of the main advantages method. So this is mainly framed based on the randomization replication. Replication means the same volunteer will receive 1, 2, 3 formulation, A, B, C formulation, and to control the error. So this technique is called as Latin square technique. So if formulation 4 or 5 is used, so accordingly the square will go up. So this Latin square is slightly modified and called as BIBD design. What is this BIBD design? Is balance incomplete block design. Balance incomplete block design. It is the same ditto of Latin square. The only change here is each subject receive 2 formulation. But Latin square, each subject receive each formulation. But BIBD, each subject receive 2 formulation. So this is little more lengthier, but again the intersubject variability is very less. We can, whatever study is designed, so when compared to this will go on increasing in the accuracy. Okay, so based on the product we can select the design which will suit. So what this BIBD means, the same 6 volunteers. So the volunteer 1 will receive formulation A and B. So this is more randomized. See, volunteer 2 will receive A and C. Volunteer 3 will receive A and B. Volunteer 4 will receive formulation B and C, 5 B and D, and the volunteer 6 will receive the formulation C and D. So almost each volunteer are receiving 2 formulation. Here again, after completing the whole process, the drug sampling is done. Here again, after completing the whole process, the drug sampling is done. The plasma is collected and the drug is estimated with the selected analytical techniques. So in all over all the studies, we will get the plasma concentration of formulation A and plasma concentration of formulation B, if more formulations are there. So now those plasma concentration is made to check in the analytical technique what we are selected. So in that we will get the concentration in the mg or milligram per ml. So by using that with the time of sampling t, we will plot a graph. So we will get log or plasma concentration versus time. So this graph is plotted to check the pharmacokinetic parameters like Cmax, Tmax and AUC. So the AUC can be checked by any one of the suitable method and those are compared. So here the one more term we should think, what is washout time? Why 1 week is preferred? See, generally the 10 times of the T off is taken as off-life. Washout period. The 10 time of T off, off-life period is taken as a washout period. So generally, most of the drugs T office belongs to 1 to 10 hours. So 1 to 10 hours into 10 times will approximately 1 week. So most of the cases we use the washout period 1 week. So what will happen in the washout period? 99.9% of drug is eliminated during the 1 week or during the washout period. The 0.1% will be eliminated during the first or second treatment is started. See, the very rare cases, the drug like digitoxin is having the half-life of 6 to 9 days. So just imagine the 6 to 9 days into 10 times means it will go around 60 to 90 days. So to complete the digitoxin, in case, for example, digitoxin 4 formulation bioequivalency studies is done by union of this Latin square or the BIBD method, means it will take around 1 year to complete the bioequivalency studies. So in order to avoid, we cannot wait up to 1 year to complete the bioequivalency studies if it is immediately leave it to the market. So in such cases, we will select parallel design method for the drugs which is having a longer half-life. Okay, so this is the things about the bioequivalency and basics of the bioequivalency studies. So now after the bioequivalency, we will correlate the in vitro, whether in vitro method is used or in vivo method is used. So when in vitro method is preferred or when in vivo method can be eliminated are studied in the in vivo in vitro correlations. Anyhow, we are going to discuss that correlations in the next class. So that's all about today's class. We will stop with this. Thank you.